For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Holly Taylor, super proud to be working at St Andrews for the last 10 years as Director of Learning and Development. And I was honoured to be asked a few months ago to come and look at Workbridge and see what is going on at Workbridge and what potential it has. And I have to say, boy, does it have a massive load of potential. And I think today I wanted to share some of those recommendations with you so that over the next weeks and months we can discuss those and deliberate those and bring them to fruition. I think for me, what you guys taught me straight away was the heart of Workbridge. What is it? What are we all about? But there was also a level of frustration that we've kind of steered away from some of that heart. Workbridge for me is a very specialist area of learning and development in terms of vocational skills development, work-related skills, life-related skills, which for me, I've had to be on a learning journey with you. What does that actually even mean? What do future learners want? What do current learners want? And what's the employment market like? And how do we prepare people to get jobs for the future? So for me, I've been interested in what are the bridges to work and Workbridge, and how do we bring those back to their fruition? Because a lot of the feedback I got is we haven't really been able to focus our expertise and our energy in this space over the last couple of years. My job was to think about the strategic fit of Workbridge in the education family in terms of the wider St Andrews offer. Many of you may or may not know there's a 5-year strategy of St Andrews, and I looked at how does Workbridge fit into that. That was my first job. What's the strategic fit? Bit of a fancy business term, but what does it mean and what's the fit? And what I can say is absolutely there is a massive place for Workbridge in the future strategy of St Andrews. In terms of your ethos about recovery, enablement, helping people reach their potential, that's what I hear a lot of. There is a massive place. So the fear that some people have said is, will Workbridge continue? Absolutely it will, and it has a massive place. And to be fair, I think it's a bit of a hidden secret to some individuals. It certainly was to me, because I didn't quite understand what you guys did there and what some of your passions and some of your talents were. But I have to say, from an education point of view, things that lit my heart and made me sing, I heard people saying, I have a good time there. I feel safe at Workbridge. I make friends and I've learned skills. But what I didn't hear is I have a learning plan. I've learned skills. I'm transitioning. I learned this week this and next week that. And I didn't see people coming and going. Workbridge for me and its heart is a transition service. Those are some of the things I think that had lost their way a little bit. I totally recognise it had been in place over the many 40 years of Workbridge's evolution. But they are the things that are top of my mind. So from an education lens, I wanted to hear more, and I think the future we need to hear more about. This is what I'm studying. This is what I'm learning. I'm on work placement here, and I finish in 2 weeks and I've got a job lined up. Or I've had this hobby for ages and now I'm a master of it. I still think there's a place for that eclectic mix of learning. As I say, I think we need to get back to the real focus of what Workbridge is. One of the things you said loud and clear on the very first moment I met most of you was we're all focused on the money. It's all about retail. The last couple of years, that's been our focus. And for a lot of you, I saw anxiety in that I didn't think was deserved or warranted, given the heart of this service of the Workbridge is to work and recovery and enablement of service users. So we have this balance at Workbridge and a massive opportunity of retail and supporting and having Workbridge as the public face of St Andrews. But we also have this education arm, which was getting a little mixed. So it took me a while to get my head around Workbridge. I think they're the same. Completely fell in love with it from the first moment, but a while to get my head around it. And it is complex, but we've come up with a proposal which is a very simple solution, which many of you have been involved in and may have heard this before, but apologies for that. But I want everyone to be on the same page with where we're up to. Is our intention is to split retail and education and have 2 job families in Workbridge. So we have equal focus on both, but one doesn't get pulled into the other. So I'm going to talk to you briefly around the education, how that may work and look, and my proposal, And then Ben will talk to you about the retail side and his proposal and some of the opportunities there. And hopefully that will develop your understanding of how we hope to get Workbridge back to its core purpose, but also master on some of the opportunities and ideas that you've shared with us. In terms of education, any of you have seen this slide before? I think one of you even helped me create it, so many thanks for that, because someone says, I need a visual to kind of imagine what it's going to look like and where we are. So these things on the top of the slide are from an education lens I would expect to see at Workbridge. And I see a lot of specialist hobbies and workshops. We're workshop-led. How many workshops have we done? How many services have come to workshops? And as I say, they work really well, and there's a lot of great feedback in that space. To a point in which it's 30,000 workshops that you guys have planned, because I've looked at the data pre-COVID to try and get a measure of volume and activity, because obviously the last 2 years are a little bit difficult and crazy in terms of the pandemic. But I also expect to see some of these other things in terms of structured wellbeing and independence skills and a framework behind it. And I saw a really good example and role model example in WASP that I think we need to translate to the whole of Workbridge. Work placements, I saw some of those going on, but when I asked about the structure of those, or when they finished or when they started, were they learner-led, that's where it was a little bit grey, and I think we need to sharpen it there. I met a gentleman, so part of this research and my work in the last few months is we did a patient and service user survey. I spoke to some of the carers, and the Reds Academy did a great piece of work looking at our future learners and what would they want to see and what would they be attracted to. And qualifications fit into some of those, not for everybody, but a wider variety of qualifications, and for people to feel like they can celebrate success and they can verify their achievement, and it be transportable into other organisations or areas of their life. Also employability. If Workbridge is about vocational skills are job-related skills. And I think over a period of time, I've heard Workbridge have done some of this work, and perhaps we haven't been able to have the resources or focus on that. And my proposal is we get back to that, and that be our offer. Interesting in terms of what do I call a conducive learning environment for our learners. I think over the last few months you've seen us, and particularly Laura, troubleshoot some of those, which hopefully gives some assurance of the investment in Workbridge. But we do need to think about our conducive working environments, not just from a health and safety point of view, but from a digital era point of view. I'd expect you guys to have the kit that you need to be able to be flexible in how you design and deliver learning. Here, I think I've spoken to quite a few of you before around also what I would expect to see and think we need to put back into the workforce is investment in yourselves. So when I ask individuals around lesson plans or special education needs, or how do you assess somebody with autism from a learning perspective, and how to design a session in accordance to that, or I ask individuals what are the different learning styles you've got in the room today and how you adapted how you're teaching, intuitively, you guys did it, and I was thoroughly impressed by some of the flexibility and creativity. But in terms of the formal investment in your education in that space, I found that's where we need to invest and support you guys going forward. I think I said to some of you, I look after all walks of learning and development. We're a very privileged position here at St Andrews. And the learners you support and the way in which you deliver learning is some of the most sophisticated I've ever seen. And the creativity is by far the best I've ever seen. So I wouldn't want to stop that, but I think some investment in the education offer and education family would be really useful. I think the other bit from Workbridge, I think I mentioned earlier, I expected to see a lot more learners. And I don't mean just because of the pandemic, that's been really troublesome in terms of how many people could have and not many awards. Over a period of time, and I'd like to see more learners coming and going. At the moment, there's a current cohort of 93 learners, 45 of which come every day, near enough every day. And when I look at their experience from an outside perspective, it does feel very institutionalized. I use that word. And it does feel more like a daycare centre than an education centre for transition. What I want to be really clear is I don't mean that in a derogative way at all. And this proposal, and I've really heard this loud and clear, and it's really close to my heart, is there will still be a place for that type of learner at Workbridge. There absolutely will. And we will continue to support those individuals because you give them a life. You guys give them purpose every day. I do not want to leave that. And that has been the biggest flag when I've been working with you guys. Is this all sounds great, Holly, but what about the core individuals we support today where we know we're a lifeline for them? That is my absolute guarantee this proposal will still support them. I think over time, when we offer this eclectic mix of things that are integrated in terms of the offer, my image is a learner comes up to us, says what their hopes and dreams are, and we can create something at Workbridge or phone friends around St Andrews to create a learning plan for them. A much more integrated plan and offer to the learner. See here, over a period of time, over the next few years, I think someone mentioned to me really helpfully saying, what about the patient mix? And that made me click of actually, I know what we're talking about now, and that really helped me. Actually, you want a mix of patients across all of these services. At the moment, they're at this end, the majority of our learners. Some say you're on work placement, but it's not a work placement that I would be able to recognise in terms of its structure and focus. So over a period of time, I'd expect to see an eclectic mix of these different learners as we grow our skills, but also an absolute concrete offer and expectation that we serve our internal customers, our patients, as much as the service users in the community. At the moment, we only have about 17, 18 internal patients out of the 600 here that come to Workbridge. And we were focusing more on the external, and I would like to propose an equal lens on both. And actually, we're more flexible in that we all do in-reach, we all do outreach, we do whatever the learner needs, and we meet them in their journey, and we tailor our offer, and we go where they need us to be. My other proposal is to simplify the offer. I couldn't believe it when I got to stop number 15 and there was another department of Workbridge that I hadn't heard of. Amazing. But I thought, wow, how does this group work together when you're in such small areas, if you like? And how does the learner understand how their learning journey connects together, where they could go next or what they could do? And so my proposal is to move into, I think I got this term from one of the workshops, so sorry, I can't remember who said it, but a massive thank you, is we move into a kind of a learning hub model. We have 5 hubs of learning. There are more individuals in each group. And that would be my proposal, but also to widen out the curriculum, be really quite flexible in what those 5 hubs do. And over a period of time, if our learners say, no, I want to learn this, we may have more hubs in the future, or we may change our curriculum depending on what's needed. But those hubs, those broader curriculums are based on the research we've done from service users, but also the massive talent you already have at St Andrews and wanting to maintain those. And then I suppose the final part, because obviously you'll get these slides and more information so you can digest it after today, and conversation will be ongoing on the weeks ahead. This is the bit that's taxed me the most, and it does in the world of learning and development in other areas, the rooms, the venues, where are we going to host ourselves? I think the vibe and culture and community feel of the Workbridge campus is amazing, and you guys create that. So I want our main hub to be the Workbridge campus. So my proposal here, you can see the detail, is we don't have the creative garage, we don't have WASP. Been in there the other day. It's not a conducive environment to learning. You're not able to work closely with colleagues and share information and best practice. That's my proposal. But we do have 2 really good hubs that are really set up, and a bit of a hidden gem in the campus, if you like, for those that don't have ground leave and want to access our services. Again, when I came to William Wake House, and it was amazing in terms of the resources there and the variety of things that can be done. And there are other rooms in William Wake House that are happy for us to use. And then I went to Fitzroy, where the old school used to be. There were learning labs, there were kitchens, breakout rooms. There was a huge big training room, and they would absolutely welcome Workbridge services operating out of there. They even had a mock shop. So there's lots of creativity. So the hubs can use any of these environments as well on site. That's the proposal. So try to give a helicopter view to give you a flavour of the strategic direction. Hopefully for many of you that is familiar, and actually I want to give credit, you gave lots of ideas of that from your own voices. But I'm also conscious that some of you, this may be new, and it might take some while to get your head around it. So I'll leave it there in terms of a summary and hand over to Ben. But obviously you'll have this detail, and more will come as we move. My mask.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. So as most of you know, I'm Ben and I'm the Retail Operations Manager for Workbridge. So I guess, firstly, I just want to echo something that Holly said at the beginning, that is thank you very much for making me feel really welcome within St Andrews and within Workbridge. The passion that each one of you has for Workbridge is just phenomenal, and it's gripped me straight away. It really has, and I'm like Holly, I'm in love with it already. So thank you very much, and all of your insight and your ideas have helped structure where I see our retail aspect of Workbridge moving forward in the future. Thank you very much. And just to add that, as well as retail, I'm heavily invested in making sure that our learners, service users are getting a great service from us. They are getting some great learning, and they're getting some great outcomes for their futures. And I think that's heavily important in what our retail offering can offer. So I'm going to take you through some slides about where I see us moving in the future, some of the great ideas that you guys have given me, and some others that I've sort of come up with as well. And I just want you to know that we've got a great opportunity to really thrive from a retail aspect as well as a learning and development aspect too. Okay. So I did a lot of research around what we currently offer and how that is delivered. So a lot of the common themes I heard was that we were under pressure. I saw a lot of stress when I first came to Workbridge on people's faces. I saw a lot of anxiety around having to do what essentially is two different roles. We're trying to serve the public, but we're also looking after the learners. And at some point, whether retail or whether from a learning and development aspect, that stuff falls away. So there was also a lot of talk around what we were delivering from a financial aspect. And everybody was heavily invested in the finances. And again, that was potentially clouding some judgment around making the right decisions for service users, but also from a retail sector too. The other thing, and the final thing I wanted to add, is that we had, for whatever reason, made some decisions around some of the tasks we were performing that had a negative financial impact on the charity. And charity is a word that I want us to use, because that's what we are, and we should be talking about that. And I've made that clear from the start, from when I joined the charity. So what I propose is that we start being more consistent with our retail offering. That we start having a dedicated retail team that deliver retail services that can work alongside the learning and development team to offer a really safe environment for people to learn in, to gather skills that they can then transfer into real jobs on the outside. Or, by the way, we have many positions within our charity that we can explore. But by the way, we were also doing stuff that was fantastic already. Yeah, we were all delivering a great level of service to our service users. That's some of the stories that the service users have told me and taught me through over the last 9 or 10 weeks has just been so heartwarming, and that is because of you guys and the support and the sessions that you guys hold. So fantastic, and thank you very much and well done. A lot of, during talking to people, a lot of the conversations I've had, I've kind of annoyed most of the people I've spoken to from within St Andrews when I've said, hello, I'm Ben Retail for Workbridge. Talk to me about Workbridge. And wow, yeah, I love Workbridge, it's brilliant. And I say, when was the last time you went down to Workbridge? What, probably about 8 months ago. Okay, so you don't love it as much as you say you do. Why? And it's all the things around the queuing, all around the accessibility of what we're offering, the inconsistency that we offer, so whether that's through products or whether that's through opening hours. And I saw a real opportunity to re-establish confidence in our retail offering at Workbridge from within St Andrews and the charity. So, in the future, we're going to be heavily invested in making sure that we bring the St Andrews family together and not operate as a separate silo without making sure that we can offer some great services within. And those things may include some great hospitality boxes, some of the cakes and bits and pieces that we do in the coffee shop are outstanding. A lot of the other stuff that we do is absolutely first class. And we should make sure that everybody gets the opportunity to see those, buy those, enjoy those. And that starts within, I believe. And then another thing that I was really conscious of is that we currently don't have a really solid way of recording waste, loss, and our cash control process is slightly out of kilter with where we probably should be. So I've done a really good review on that as well, and there's some things that are really going to help us record waste, loss, and should also help streamline our cash control operation as well. But I know that's on some of your minds, and it's been mentioned a lot. So in the future, Workbridge Retail, okay, very simply, we're going to live by these values. So number one is service users, and it still remains, you know, as I said at the start, retail, yes, it will operate separately. However, I don't see it operating separately in terms of the service we offer to service users. We have to be really, really nimble and really, really adaptable to help support our learners' learning plans. And that is something that I'm heavily invested in. However, we do need a vision for retail, and it's important that our teams know where we want to go. So as you can see, we have some Workbridge values from a retail perspective, and these are the things as a starting point, and these can evolve over time, that we would like to install to ensure that we're giving the best quality service. We're acting as a team, we're promoting our brand, our Workbridge brand, whether that's internally within the charity or whether that's externally to our external customers and stakeholders, to be really consistent and know they're going to get a great level of service in many ways through Workbridge. And with that becomes many opportunities, and a lot of you will see some of these things on here and go, yeah, that was my idea, and a lot of them are your ideas, guys. You have some wonderful ideas. And something that's been really, I was nervous about at the start of this, was that I know a team of people that wanted learning and development were not as heavily invested in retail. And let me tell you, there's a lot of people in here that are really great retailers and who really want to see the retail offering thrive, survive, and be really consistent. So thank you for that. I'm not going to run through them all, as well as to get these in the patch. But there's some amazing things on there, and some things we've already started working on, by the way, because we can. So from a retail perspective, in a whistle-stop tour, that's sort of my proposal. We're now going to take you through what we propose our structure to be. So I'm just going to hand it back to Ollie to start. Thank you.
Yeah, so you're all sitting there, I'm sure, thinking, well, how does it affect me? What's the impact on me? last huddle and workshop I had, people said to me, I want to know more about my role and what some of the opportunities for me. So that's what I have been focusing on when I had that group, the senior vocational skills instructors in here, who said we need to have more clarity. So this is our current structure. But to say that is our current structure in terms of job titles, but many of you have said, I don't have a clear job description, perhaps. I had one years ago, but I haven't been operating it. I've looked through SAP of your objectives. They're not that clear, to be honest. No disrespect to anyone, but it's very difficult. So I am proposing that we offer different job descriptions in line with our strategy and be really clear on what we expect of you. So rather than this structure, in terms of education, to the 5 hubs that I mentioned earlier, I'm recommending that there is an education lead for each hub, and that be a new role in our structure. I heard a lot around, actually, I don't want to just be told what learners in my workshop. I want to be involved in identifying what that learner wants and be in control of the curriculum and what I design in my hub. That's what this empowers and gives. You see a very simple structure with the 5 different hubs there, all being led by a vocational education lead. And I recommend there to be an education manager for Workbridge. Many of you have heard about that already, but I do think there needs to be an expertise in the education part of Workbridge to help some of those different opportunities and qualifications and work experience placements that I mentioned earlier. Each hub, this is what I'm proposing. Workbridge needs to be and continue to be co-produced and led by service users. I've met service users that when I look at them, to be honest, they're workers. And so this proposal's hard, having peer support workers in every hub. We have funding for that. So part of this proposal, after today, I need to share with some of the service users that we currently have, because I think they will be interested in working alongside the education team when they've been for many years part of it and a receiver. There's also a vocational learning tutor role. I can obviously give you the job description you can have a look at. But for me, it's an education role that I want to have every hub. So my recommendation is 5 hubs with an education lead, vocational skills tutors in there, peer support workers, and the tremendous volunteers that I've seen down at Workbridge, many of which want to come back. And I'm sure, again, I haven't put this proposal to them yet because I wanted to share it with you guys first. I think there is many opportunities we see in the world at the moment with a lot of individuals struggling in the education sector. And there's a lot of talented volunteers and individuals that have gone into early retirement that I think we could help support those learning hubs depending on what the learners need. The very simple structure I'm proposing. I heard a lot of you say, though, to me, or quite a few, don't turn me into a lecturer. I'm not an academic. These are vocational skills roles that are nationally benchmarked. And something to say as well that people have said, so I'm going to be very honest here. People have said we feel a bit like the correlation of learning and development, or OT. There's a confusion over, are we the OT job family or education one? My proposal is education. And people don't understand always the career levels. This career level A vocational learning tutor role is essentially an old band form. So what the actual skills and expertise in my proposal is a level higher than the one we have now, just to give you a bit of a benchmark there. So I had lots of questions around that in some of the workshops I've held. And here's the commitment to you. So what I've looked at, every one of those job roles, what are the national qualifications that I think, one, fit them, 2, fit the learners of the future, and in my proposal is an investment in education in each of these roles. And some of you I know already have these qualifications or equivalent of. So in terms of the vocational learning tutor, I'd expect people to have a learning and development practitioner qualification. If people don't have that, then we have the investment to support people in gaining those skills. In terms of the vocational education lead, learning and skills teacher is the nationally recognised job description and a qualification that is linked to that. And then for our peer support workers, we obviously have a fantastic recovery college programme, but also for those of you who already have these qualifications, or you have learners that need different things in your hub, you'll see, I'll give you afterwards, there's 20 or so qualifications from assessors, coaches, support assistants, to SEN, special education needs specialists, that I think would be really useful. But I thought today to perhaps measure some of your expectations of what I expect in these roles. These are the minimum requirements I expect of these roles, but there are great education programmes that we would want to propose to support you doing over the next couple of years to get you there. Hopefully that explains very simple structure. 5 hubs, teachers and support assistants in each one, volunteers and peer support workers. Anyone talk about your...
Yeah. So, as you can see, this is kind of the retail structure I'm proposing to take us into the future. So, I guess it's pretty self-explanatory, apart from the middle section. I just want to talk about that a little bit. So, I've spent a lot of time thinking about what wonderful stuff that we make at Workbridge, whether that's a self-public, whether that is researchers, take home, whatever that looks like. We have some of the best equipment you can find anywhere to do some of this stuff. Okay. However, a lot of, like we have with our sort of customer-facing retail outlets, a lot of the feedback is in, you know, we could do this, or we could do that, and we could grow this, and we could grow that. But we currently don't, because we are trying to do too much. So by having specialists in these areas, we can continue to offer the great range of products that we currently offer, but also explore avenues to grow them. I know that we're a destination for whether it be print, whether it be planters, whatever that may look like. We've got a real opportunity to grow that. Also propose that we're going to have 2 retail team leads with the retail assistants reporting into them, and also our hairdresser will sit on our structure also. I think that one thing that's been mentioned to me is that retail is a bit dead end. I'm concerned that if I go into retail, that's it for me. Actually, it's not. There's a lot of skills within retail, and there's a lot of development opportunity within retail. I have 20 years retail experience, and I've learned many transferable skills that I think that I could use in other areas of life. So not just at work, at home also. So what I can do from a retail perspective is invest in you guys with a development program, and we will help and support those of you that want to develop, that want to gain leadership skills almost to thrive. Much like the learning and development team are heavily invested also. And it's not just that, well, I now work in a coffee shop and then I'm going to move on and I'm going to move on. There are many transferable skills throughout the charity retail can offer you to give you the career goals that you may have and support those goals. So that is the structure proposal, and from a retail learning and development perspective, what I propose.